Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. My reading week was both quite terrible and amazing. As has become rather the tradition on this channel, my weekend's reading were not quite what I had hoped, but what I read over the course of the work week was really good. So when I ended last week, I wasn't entirely sure what I would be starting this weekend. The last 2 days of last week, Thursday and Friday, I started on Cloudstreet by Tim Winton. This is an Australian historical novel set in Perth, Western Australia, over the course of 20 years, from 1943 to 1963. It's the story of two families, the Pickles and the Lambs, who live together in a large, decaying mansion. The Pickles inherited the house from a wealthy relative who also left them a significant amount of money. However, Sam Pickles, the patriarch of the family, who is crippled from an industrial accident, lost the money at the races and had to rent half the house, and the Lambs basically came in to rent the other house. The Lambs are, so while the Pickles are defined by their reliance on luck, the Pickles are, not the Pickles, the Lambs are defined more by their reliance on work. The Lambs have not only rented half the house, but they've also sort of improved their part of the yard. They've turned part of the house into a grocery store. However, much like the Pickles, they themselves are dealing with a tragedy. The middle son has suffered brain damage from a near drowning. And apparently there's also some magical realism elements as well that I haven't really got to. So I read up to, I think, to 80 pages, the fourth section of the book, or fourth chapter. And I was torn between whether or not I wanted to continue the book into the weekend or set it aside or come back to it in the work week. And part of the reason why is that while the language is really good, the writing is superb, there's not much in the way of plot, particularly a plot that would hook me, that would really keep me engaged. It's rather episodic, it's rather one event following another, but it doesn't really interest me. And the characters don't really interest me either. So I was unsure, in part because there was nothing that really was making me upset or annoyed or angry that would be a bail, like a surefire bail. It was just, I'm bored, I don't really care. So what I decided to do was to set it aside at least over the weekend and read some other things. Now, with that, I had two options, really four options. I could read one of the two books I had selected for this year's People April. One of the prompts was rivals, so I decided to do biographies of two individuals who were rivals of each other. So The Shadow Emperor by Alan Strauss-Schom, which is a biography of Napoleon III, and Bismarck by Jonathan Steinberg, which is, of course, a biography of Otto von Bismarck. So I ultimately decided to go with The Shadow Emperor for this week. So I did not last long in this book at all. The writing's not that great, and there's this weird chapter devoted to Napoleon's illegitimate half-brother, who the chapter makes it seem like this half-brother is older, but in reality, he's not. He's actually younger by a year or two. So it just, I didn't like this at all. So then I decided to go with the other half options, which was for No Place Like Rome and Historathon. So either Streams of Gold, Rivers of Blood by Anthony Kaldellis or Byzantium by Judith Herrin. I decided to go with a reread of Streams of Gold, Rivers of Blood because earlier this year, last month, I had to go at Kaldellis's more recent The New Roman Empire, which I lasted about 80-ish pages before I gave up. It's just the topics that he was focusing on just really wasn't doing it for me. No matter how good the writing is, the topic did not interest me. And in a way, that's true of this book as well. So, Streams of Gold, Rivers of Blood is a history of the Roman Empire from about 955 to the beginning of the First Crusade. So the later half of the Macedonian dynasty and whatever dynasty ultimately succeeded them. The history is focused more on military matters, although internal court politics do play a role as the Macedonian dynasty falls apart. Kaldellis' writing is good, but it's not good enough to really keep me interested. And I definitely found my interest flagging, and I ultimately decided to bail on the book after about 100-odd pages. A little more than 100 pages, I think. So there's that. So then I decided to go back to Cloudstreet because my idea was I definitely would not be able to stomach a whole weekend's worth of this. So I thought maybe reading the book piecemeal would be more appropriate. And then when I came back to it, I just was not interested at all. So it was a bail as well. Now, the highlight of my reading week, and it was amazing, was the 10 volumes of manga I read over the course of from Monday through Thursday. So these are the 10 volumes of manga I read. And they were amazing. It was amazing. Okay, so I started with the two new releases in Jujutsu Kaisen by Gege Akutami and Demons of the Shadow Realm Volume 4 by Hiromu Arakawa. So, Jujutsu Kaisen is a series about a young high school student named Yuji Itadori, who joined his school's occult club. One day, the other members of the club find a cursed object, a rotten finger of an evil sorcerer named Sukeno. This cursed object attracted a cursed spirit, which is a spiritual entity formed from residual malicious energy, sort of places where horrific acts have occurred and that sort of thing. And these entities are kind of form personalities and start to act on the world. So this cursed spirit is after this cursed object so that it can gain more power. Megumi, a young Jujutsu sorcerer in training, engages the cursed spirit. He holds his own, but he isn't quite able to defeat it. And Yuji, during this fight, ends up eating the cursed object, the rotten finger of Sukeno. And this results in Sukeno temporarily possessing Yuji, and he defeats the cursed spirit and is about to kill Megumi when Megumi's teacher Gojo interferes. When Yuji comes to, he is informed that due to becoming a cursed object himself, he is to be executed. However, Gojo has interceded and argued that given that Yuji not only survived eating Sukuna's finger, but also managed to not be completely possessed by Sukuna, that maybe if we gather the other 19 fingers of Sukuna, he has 4 arms, and feed them all to Yuji, we'll be able to permanently take care of Sukuna. That once Yuji's eaten all 20 fingers, then kill him. So, while this awaited day of execution is delayed, Yuji is enrolled in the Tokyo branch of the Jujutsu school to train alongside Megumi and another student. And they basically go on missions until the Shibuya incident, in which an evil entity called Kenjaku has, in the guise of sorcerer named Geto, have brought together a number of dangerous cursed spirits. And the incident results in the destruction of the Shibuya neighborhood of Tokyo and the destruction of much of Tokyo, and the other parts of Tokyo being enclosed in a magical barrier, as well as other locations in Japan that forms the ultimate point of Kenjaku's machinations, which is the culling game, in which a number of civilians have their potential for magical abilities awakened, as well as sorcerers from the past coming into the present and possessing other individuals who have some talent. And so they're basically set to fight and kill each other for an unknown reason. Yuji and his classmates who survived the Shibuya incident, as well as senior Jujutsu sorcerers who haven't fallen to the higher ups, have decided to band together to take the fight to Kenjaku by entering some of these colonies to engage in kind of how to sort of try to end it. This volume focuses on the Sakurajima colony and features one of the older students at the Tokyo branch of Jujutsu High School, as well as a student at the Kyoto branch. So Maki is a member of the Zenin clan, which is one of the big 3 families of the Jujutsu world. Maki and her twin sister Mei were the black sheep of the family, or some of the black sheep. And in the aftermath of the Shibuya incident, factions of the Zenin family decided to eliminate Maki and her twin. Mei dies, and Maki awakens an enhancement in her abilities. And this allows her to eliminate the Zenin clan. However, one of her relatives died. He became a cursed spirit, Naoya, and much of this arc is devoted to Maki's, along with I'm blanking on his name. Noritoshi fighting Naoya. And so it's basically this volume as that fight, and it is really, really good. And Maki and Noritoshi kind of hold their own, but they can never really fully defeat Naoya until 2 other, and that's Naoya, what he becomes. 2 other sort of Jujutsu sorcerers from the past. Not all of them are completely evil. So one of them is Hagane Daido, who is basically an expert samurai or samurai style fighting. And so he's obsessed with fighting people with swords. And then Rokujushi Miyo, who is basically obsessed with sumo. And they basically help Maki and Noritoshi fight Naoya. And I really love the scene with Maki and the sumo guys sort of training montage. I really enjoyed that. But this was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Demons of the Shadow Realm is about twins, Yuru and Asa, who were born in a village in Japan that is out of time. It's basically isolated, and they are very much living in sort of a medieval or early modern setting. Even though the village does have contacts with the outside world. Yuru and Asa are twins with superhuman abilities that have a prophecy about them. The village imprisoned Asa when she was young, leaving Yuru free. However, one day, a band of mercenaries attacked the village from the outside, and leading the mercenaries appears to be Asa. And it's revealed that Yuru's parents fled with Asa years ago. And Yuru leaves the village with the twin guardians right and left, as well as under the guidance of one of the a clan that serves to basically bring goods and services to the village from the outside. And so Yuru is determined to find the truth about whether or not this woman claiming to be Asa is his sister, as well as what happened to his parents. This volume is largely devoted to finding those answers. It begins with the group going to a house that the Dara clan has, and it's being occupied by two demons, which are defeated, and then they sort of regroup and learn that Dara has a younger half brother who was who went to the house to sort of try to ditch the two demons that he made a contract with. But in this volume was really fun. It was really hilarious. I quite enjoyed it. So let's see here. Yeah, but I really enjoyed this volume as well. And then I read the second volume of Twin Star Exorcists by Yoshiaki Sukeno. So this is a series about two exorcists who are destined to marry and produce a super exorcist. Rokuro wants nothing to do with being an exorcist, while Binyo is hyper devoted to it. Eventually, they start to have feelings for each other later on in the series, but in this volume, it starts with the leader of the exorcists in Japan forcing Binyo and Rokuro to move into a house together. And gradually over the course of the volume, Rokuro begins to decide that he wants to get back into fighting Kigare, the demons in the setting. And he is ultimately, at the end of the volume, challenged by his former teacher, who, I don't know why anybody would let that guy teach kids how to be an exorcist, because he seems like a pretty terrible teacher. But anyway. So yeah, I had a blast with this. This was hilarious. And sorry if I'm being a bit rushed with my descriptions of these, but I've got to in a few minutes make supper. So, yeah. And then for Tuesday and Wednesday, I read 6 volumes. No. I don't know why I pulled out volume 1. 5 volumes of Dandadan by Yukinobu Tatsu. So I read volumes 2 through 6, and I should be getting volume 7 early next week. So this is volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, and volume 6. So Dandadan is a series set in contemporary Japan about 2 young adults, Momo and Ken, who goes by the name Okarun. Momo believes in the supernatural. Okarun believes in aliens, and they do not believe in. And so Momo does not believe in aliens, and Okarun does not believe in the supernatural. So one day they make a bet, and it results in aliens awakening Momo's psychic abilities and a ghost possessing Okarun at the expense of his genitals. Eventually, the two escape and become embroiled in repeated conflicts with both aliens and supernatural beings, and it is absolutely a delight. I had a complete blast with these volumes. So, volume 2 sees Okarun and Momo having to race Turbo Granny, the ghost possessing Okarun, and her companion ghost, which is a gigantic crab. Eventually, the duo managed to defeat, along with the help of Momo's grandmother, the psychic Seiko, defeat the crab and Turbo Granny. And it appears initially that everything has been righted. However, while part of Okarun's genitals have returned, other part hasn't. And so they're now having to try to find Okarun's testicles, which have been turned into magical balls. One of these balls ends up in the possession of a young woman named Ira. No, is it? Yeah, Ira, who comes to believe that she's the chosen one because she's beautiful, and that Momo is a demon, and she must exorcise her. And her psychic abilities have been awakened by coming into possession with one of Okarun's testicles. However, this draws the attention of a ghost named Acrobatic Silky, which believes that she is Ira's mother. And eventually, Momo and Okarun manage to defeat Akutami, and Akutami sacrifices her life to save Ira. And this gives Ira the ability to take on aspects of Akutami, as Turbo Granny has Okuren has the ability to take on aspects of Turbo Granny. And so Ira now believes that she's destined to save the world. And she also develops a crush on Okuren. So one of the wild things about this series is that it is both a shonen battle manga, which is sort of a series that features fights quite heavily, as well as a romantic comedy, because it is clear that Momo and Okuren have feelings for each other, and that gradually over the course of the series they will figure it out. But part of the comedy is that there are other people interested in both of them. And it's just, it's hilarious. And also the school aspects of this is just bananas. There's a arc that basically the aliens kind of attack the school with the intent of capturing Okuren, because he has this special ability. And so they basically set the school into an alternate dimension, or draw the three characters into an alternate dimension. And they capture temporarily Okuren and divest him of his clothes, while utilizing a alien that's kind of a bit of a punching shrimp, and the Loch Ness Monster. And it's hilarious. And especially once they kind of like the embarrassment that happens after the arc, it's just, yeah. And then the next arc has a childhood friend of Momo's coming to visit to ask for help because he believes that his house is haunted, and it is, and that arc is just amazing. I love this series. I'm really looking forward to volume 7. So anyway, so let's look at some pictures. And one thing I love about this series is just the gorgeous art. I mean, the art is just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I had a blast. And then there is what I read yesterday, which is the second and third volumes of Frieren Beyond Journey's End by Kanehito Yamada and Tsukasa Abe. So Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a series about an elf named Frieren, who 80 years previously went on a 10-year quest to defeat the Demon King. After this quest was accomplished, she continued her journeys to learn more about magic. Gradually, the other members of her party passed away, and 80 years later, Frieren is going on a new journey with new companions. One is her apprentice in magic, and the other is the apprentice of the last surviving member of her band. And so they just travel and learn things and have adventures, and it's wonderful. I really enjoyed these these 2 volumes. It was amazing. I love the artwork. I love the characterizations, particularly Frieren. She is, even though she is by far the oldest person in the party, she is just absolutely very much a child. It's just her apprentice burn very much treats her as a child, and it is just wonderful. So I had a lot of fun with this as well. So yeah, that was all the manga I read. Now, today's reading is, I had thought about starting on Bismarck and reading it today and then over the weekend, and then coming back over the work week reading some more manga. So I think I'll be reading some volumes of Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto, Black Clover by Yuki Tabata, probably the Dandadan Volume 7, and a few first volumes, including Windbreaker Volume 1 by Satoru Nii. Anyway, BookTube, that's all I got for today. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now so I can go and get supper started. So until I see you next week, thank you, BookTube. Have a great afternoon and stay safe. And have a great weekend.